Are we all going at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Hey.
I'm Tyler, product strategist here at Crema.
I'm George, one of the founders here at Crema.
And I'm Larissa, and I'm the one that makes all the videos.
That's a long
Is
title.
that your title?
No. Yeah, I'm the content specialist.
I don't even know. I don't know. Okay.
Content
There we go.
specialist.
Welcome to Mugs Up Monday.
So much content.
Okay, so we're talking about trends. Did the trends have the trends happened?
Toward the end of 2017, people made predictions as they do at the end of every year. And we're here today to discuss whether or not those predictions played out as expected.
They're all wrong.
False.
Happy Mugs Up Monday.
Trends are inherently
Clickbaity.
clickbaiting. They are almost always wrong in some way or another, and almost always right in some way or another.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a portion, there's a little, they take a piece of truth of something that's already happening and say, like, that's going to explode this year.
Right.
But it's never really measurable. It's never, I think that's the problem is it's like, well, yeah, of course it's going to happen. It's already happening.
Yeah.
What else is going to happen this year?
There will be weather next year.
So we've kind of set that as a baseline. We're a little skeptical of trends in general, but they happen and people follow them and they literally change markets sometimes. And so we thought we would take a look at the trends that were projected maybe early 2018, probably end of 2017, saying this is what's going to happen. It is currently, what month is it? September. So we're
I was
not,
thinking May first. I don't know why.
it's currently May.
May,
Still
but
May.
in September.
Yes, it is. May flowers or
Bring
showers.
October pumpkins.
It's not right. So it's September. So we're not all the way through the year. So maybe all of these predictions will come true in the next 3 months.
Could hockey stick.
Yeah, probably not. But we're gonna look at a few things. We didn't take one list. We kind of, you guys pulled together, I don't know, like five or six, and we looked for trends of trends.
Right. We're looking through trends of trends because each trend list that we came across was either just super basic and not all that helpful, or it covered topics that we really aren't frankly qualified or interested in discussing. So we identified some trends across multiple trends lists to suss out some consistencies between them. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I'll just reference a couple of the names that you'll see here.
Go.
There was the Fortune.com trend. Then there was Huffington Post did one. Neil Patel's done one. I mean, probably every major technology publication has done a trend list. What were the major trends that people said were going to happen in 2018 that was going to change our world?
So the first theme was an increase in remote work. The second theme was a summary I'm calling, it's emerging tech includes VR and AR, machine learning, bots, blockchain, things like that. And then the third one was just a general product management oversight, or things within product management and how they're changing. And then bad predictions, which are bad things that could happen.
So how much time do we want to give ourselves for each topic? Because we know you guys
6
don't
and
have a lot of
6.5
time.
minutes.
6.5.
6.5? Let's do this. Let's attempt to see what we can get done in 3 minutes
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
for each topic.
I like it.
Because the internet is not a very patient folk.
I'm just gonna leave then.
So let's start off. You talked about increase in remote work. The timer starts at 3 minutes. Let's go.
All right, so there were a handful of articles that talked about the increase in remote work, not just from a collaborative Skype and video conferencing perspective, but also the rise in facilities like WeWork and Kansas City. We have FlexPod and a lot of independent co-working spaces.
Wasn't this already happening? I don't feel like this is an emergent trend of 2018.
Yep.
I feel like
That's
this is
the point.
Yep.
this has already been going on.
It's not a risk-worthy trend by any means, but
I feel like they're predicting what has already happened.
yeah,
Which is an
not to
oxymoron.
mention that Yahoo and other large corporations
They
had
just
already
sucked
allowed-
back in,
Yeah,
actually.
a couple of years ago they said, you know what, forget that.
It's
We're
hard.
gonna cut that off, but now it's expanding into other areas. And
So go deeper into that. And I don't know if these articles cover this, but what I think we have seen though is we are continuing to see a rise in the quote unquote gig economy. So like people doing gig jobs like Uber drivers or, a network of freelance developers. The thing that I tell people when they're talking about why hire Crema, we're one of many options on how to get an app built. There's a video for that. You should go look at it. It's somewhere in she'll link
playlist.
it
Yeah.
But one of the options is to hire freelancers. But I have found if I go through the roster of developers that I know, good developers, they're not freelancing anymore. They've found jobs or companies they really like working at. And most of them, a lot of them are working in-house. Now, that might be because I'm in the Midwest. It might be because we focus on kind of bringing people into the company. But I don't know. I don't see as many people. I mean, Zapier went completely remote. They don't have any office. 37 Signals is pretty big into... So these are definitely startups that are adopting this. We're seeing an exodus from the Valley. Way too expensive to live in San Francisco, so people are going and looking for remote jobs. I know there's a bunch of people actually in Kansas City that work for Silicon Valley companies now that are working from Kansas City. The cost of living here is awesome. We have always had what we call a results-based culture, which basically means you can work whenever you want, wherever you want, as long as you hit your results for the sprint and the team that you're working on. So what you'll see is Thursdays tend to be really quiet, like offline days. A lot of people work from coffee shops or from home. I don't know why Thursday. It's probably the day after our big planning day. But generally speaking, Thursdays are quiet. We don't care. But if you don't hit your results, it's kind of a perk that could get taken away. But generally speaking, there's a conversation. So we kind of have a culture based around that's an option. But it's usually been tied directly to, we'll say, home office, to Kansas City's this building that we're in right now. So people kind of really needed to come back in here. In the last year, we had one full-time person working remote. Since then, we'll have a total of 4 people being remote. So that's in Indianapolis, that's in DC, that is in Boston, and then soon to be Phoenix. While we're also thinking about business development in those locations, there's like strategic reasons why that works out. Most of these people are just working remote. They had an opportunity to move to these locations for other reasons, and we said, stay with Crema, let's see if we can make this work. There are challenges though. Culture is the biggest challenge, I think. Like you've seen it on the videos, we invest a ton into culture. But how to communicate with these people? How do they know what's going on? They're not part of like lunch and learns. We're not feeding them, those types of things make it harder to do. I will say it from a guy that's running a company that has remote workers now, it is actually more expensive too. Because now you have to think about travel. You're thinking about like, okay, well, if they're going to come back every once in a while, and then we've got this travel expense that wasn't there before. It's okay. It's just part of the things that you start thinking about. It makes it a little more complicated.
Yeah, I think the thing to watch, prediction.
Oh, you heard it here. An
increased sense of trust and more hybrid cultures like ours, where some people are remote, some people are on location, but also those that are on location work remotely more frequently, work from home, coffee shops.
Yeah.
There's more flexibility because with agile planning and similar processes that get a lot of things out in the open and provide lots of autonomy to go get your work done, ideally, if done well, then you have that flexibility to work. And I don't think that timer's actually moving.
It's not. I've been watching that. Yeah. I was like, we've had 2 minutes left for a long time.
So I'm just milking it.
Okay, so that's remote work.
Right.
It is happening. I think I'm agreeing with you on your extended prediction of hybrid model. But I don't know. I don't feel like it was a prediction. I think like that was already happening.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
I do think the response, though, the reason people are talking about it is that you are seeing the overall cost of the hubs of technology, Austin, San Francisco, New York, maybe Seattle, the cost of living there is going up so much that people are having to consider not living there. Which means if you're not living there, it's hard to work there. And so like I still want to work with this company, but I don't want to be forced to have my butt.
And each company invests quite a bit in the talent, and so they want to keep that person.
That's right.
Next, emerging tech. Larissa, go.
Some incredible application on the fringes.
You're reading it.
But minimal mainstream acceptance. He wrote this.
Of course he wrote that. Some incredible applications on the fringes. But minimal mainstream acceptance.
Minimal mainstream acceptance.
Translate.
All right, so like I said before, emerging tech includes AR, VR, blockchain, IoT, machine learning, things like that, AI. There are some really cool, incredible applications on the fringes of certain cultures and industries. But as far as gaining mainstream acceptance, none of these have played out the way that really anybody predicted.
Yeah.
It's much slower, and I think that's due in part to familiarity with the technology. I think the technology hasn't progressed as quickly as a lot of people expected it would. I do think, though, we talked about before, that the technology is spreading several layers below the average consumer's experience in a way that we don't see or expect. Mm-hmm. So blockchain is a great example that's going to be affecting financial transactions that we make, but the end user won't know it's blockchain. Yeah, I don't use the blockchain.
They see a payment. So let's break down each one of these. Mm-hmm. The AR VR, that's actually a couple years old as far as us exploring that. I was most excited about AR. VR for me is a gaming trend, or maybe some education, but being training, being completely enveloped. It's amazing technology. I love it. It's really cool. But it's mostly the people that are getting super excited about are gamers, which is a huge industry.
Yep.
But it's not exactly mainstream in the sense of like, does everyone from my mom to the person cutting yards have access to it like they do?
Cutting yards?
Well, I'm just saying like
mowing lawns.
Cutting yards? Is that not how you say it?
Cutting yards.
I've never heard
cutting yards of fabric. Okay. No, but I mean, like, everyone has one of these. This was a trend that took over and changed the way that we interact with technology. The thought was, or the movies told us, or the trend said that AR VR would be that. Technology is going to take a long time to get there, and so while I think the trend is happening, it is not mainstream. It has not become mainstream. This is tech that's taken over. Machine learning.
Yep.
I will say machine learning, I think, is something that is mainstream and people aren't aware of it.
Yep, I agree.
Which is what's kind of brilliant about machine learning, or AI, or whatever you want to call it. Machine learning on crack is what I call AI.
At some of the larger enterprise levels, you can't do anything without it anymore. So in that,
it's just data. There's too much data in the world to parse data without a machine doing it for you.
But as far as developing tools for manipulating machine learning data and things like that at anything lower than the enterprise level, it hasn't quite gotten there yet. And maybe it won't ever because the inefficiencies aren't there. I think we'll see some of that, but I think there's some overlap there with chatbots or just really any bot that knows how to respond well enough to a situation.
That's another trend. That was a 2017 trend.
That's why it's on the list.
Is chatbots on the list? But I think chatbots was last year, wasn't it? We were convinced that we were going to build chatbots all last year, and it went nowhere. Mm-hmm. Like Facebook chatbots was kind of cool, but then didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I think you're seeing like chatbot experiences start to get interlaced into things, but I think chatbots became voice.
Yeah.
And voice has kind of taken off a little bit. You're seeing a lot more people using Home or Siri or Alexa,
but in a limited capacity, because it's still not. It's still hard for me to get.
Do you use any of the voice?
I don't have a need for it.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't need to control my house. Like, I don't know. Like, I just never, like, if I need to look something up, I just Google it, like, with my phone. I mean, I can use the voice, but usually I just type it in because it's faster for me, and I don't want to have to risk it not understanding what I'm saying. Like, it's just the time that it takes.
It's a performance thing, yeah.
I would rather.
I actually think out of all these, the machine learning and AI is the one that's getting the most traction.
Yeah.
90% of the experiences you probably interact with, Facebook, Instagram, Google, they're all heavily, or YouTube. If you're watching this video was served up to you through a machine learning algorithm. Mm-hmm. And so, it's huge. It's that is taking over.
I, for one, welcome our machine overloads.
I do too. Please don't kill me because I love you.
Robots are great.
IoT.
Yeah. I think I would put that in the same category.
Internet of Things, just for those that have not literally
as opposed to the Internet of Non-Things. IoT, for me, is in the same category where the work and the energy to use these things effectively just isn't worth it.
Where I am excited about IoT is where it's being distributed at the kind of utility level. So for instance, there's a company here in Kansas City called Homebase that actually they're doing it where they're putting it into multi-unit rental properties. I'm really excited about like that. So all of the locks in the building now have the ability to unlock them with, you know, a phone. All of the thermostats are smart thermostats. All of the lights are smart lights. So you can really control it. You can, because we have such a transient society now, you can pass off the ownership or access to these things to different people. Now, that brings with it a whole security risk that I'm kind of super curious about, but I think that IoT, again, it's been so incremental. It's really been going on for 15 years since this thing, people started trying to connect devices to this. We've done a few IoT products, we like them. It's not something where I think anybody even thinks of it as IoT anymore. It's just smart objects. It's stuff that works.
Product management. Let's move on. Anything else about emerging tech?
No, I will say, and we kind of said it already, but blockchain, it's totally here. It's not going away, but no one will ever know they're using it. That's my whole point, is that like a good user experience for blockchain is that you're not actually aware that you're using blockchain.
So product management, the first one that we were going to talk about was how you don't really necessarily need, well, this example was a degree in product management, but in general, the functional experience is more important, or becoming like more important than...
On the last 2 months, this has been a big thing. A bunch of the big startups, Facebook, Google was always known for basically hiring like the top level, like Harvard grads and stuff like that. And they kind of recently came out and said, I don't know if it was Google, a couple of them, I don't remember who they were. It was a couple of the big companies basically came back and said, college degrees, we don't care. And so I think that kind of fits in this bucket, I think, of what matters in getting into this industry. We would say here that we don't necessarily hire on a degree. If you have a degree, we want to know why. I mean, I think I always want to know, I don't have a degree. I dropped out of college. And so I totally believe that experience is key. Now, I have a little bit of a risk on this though, is that the industry is not hiring inexperienced people. They still only want to hire experienced people. And so university tends to be a place where you gain experience, or at least you get to test waters or do research or be an intern or something like that because you're going through the university experience. The track for getting experience without going through that is a little harder. And so I think that it needs to be that these companies are going to be willing to take risks on super green junior people, that they're going to create new talent, which is something we're doing a lot of here. And so I'm just, that has to happen if this is going to work.
Yeah, no, it's less about hiring somebody that has a specific set of things that they've done, and more about the type of person that they are and how they think about the world and how they think about working with other people. Product management has gone from accepting strategic decisions from on high to more of a leading the strategy role from the ground up, because they have some of the greatest visibility towards what the customers need, what the market needs, and what the teams need themselves, and then how to provide that. And so there's been a dissonance between the executive level and dissonance.
Yeah,
friction.
Yeah, I get it.
Calling out my $10 words.
You're absolutely right, though. I think it has to connect with people need to be more focused on finding good people that are good at working with other human beings.
Yeah, because the demands of product management aren't just execution anymore.
Yeah.
It's not just run your software team. It's not just plan your sprints and provide a backlog and a roadmap.
Yeah,
any roadmap that's beyond 2 years is out of date.
Yeah.
The moment it's on paper.
And that is crazy hard to do. Building a product team is, I mean, man, that podcast is still stuck in my head, but it's really difficult to build good product teams. And so I think this is going to be a big thing. I like the next one, the one that talks about personalization of software experience. It's not really a product management thing as much as it is just like what's happening in UX. I think it goes with machine learning and AI, is that people no longer expect to just have a flat UX on anything. They think that everything ought to be about them. It's kind of sickening, honestly, but it is what's happening. So yeah, personalized experiences are here to stay.
The Harpit is doing them well with the appropriate data and not being really creepy about it.
Yeah. The last one, I think the third party and basically non-product people being able to create products. That is kind of in the democratization of what we do, or
which is the underlying.
Not democratization. That's the wrong word. Yet again, I've gotten the wrong word. No, it is the commodization.
There you go. Yeah, it's the commodization, because which we're going to see in machine learning and blockchain, more accessibility to these kinds of tools, much in the way that where bots were originally a really complex thing to build, Facebook pretty quickly, and some others.
Or website. Just
bots.
a website was hard to build back in the day.
Squarespace,
right.
But yeah, the non-product people shipping product is the underlying theme of all of this, where all these things are so accessible and available that it doesn't take a person who's historically run software teams to be a product lead, because they have availability to data and tools and a different way to communicate and tell the story of something they're trying to communicate, make connections. Bad predictions, bad things that could happen.
What are you scared of? Because that's what you get excited about.
Dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
I'm not scared of anything. I just that's not true, but
Tell us
I
your-
just
tell us
feel
your
like,
fears.
I just feel like that if there's like a trend that could happen that could like negatively impact people, they're more likely to act like to change their ways, or like change the ways of what's happening to like change
You'd
the future.
think cybersecurity is the number one, right? Because
Yeah.
we've seen a bunch of people get hacked. We've seen a lot of things happen this year, and that, of course, has been a headline for lots of political reasons and everything else, but which we don't get into here at Crema. Like that Monday. My question is that true? Have you, given all the cybersecurity stuff that went down in the last year, which should be kind of scary, how much have you actually changed in your life to address that? See, I think that people
Nothing's
still
happened to me.
I know,
Right.
but bad stuff has happened.
Yeah.
That's
I actually did get hacked. There's a site called
Have I been pwned?
yeah. What is that?
Have I been pwned?
Oh, have I been pwned?
Yep.
Yeah, and then you put in your email address, and it basically says like, oh, we know that these email addresses are being sold in the black market or in the dark web. And totally, one of my email addresses, it's one that I don't use as much anymore, but it's an older email address, totally on there. And what they do is that one site, so most people have the same email address and password across a bunch of sites. So one site gets hacked, and you're like, oh, it's fine, because all other ones are safe. Then what they do is they go, oh, that email and password, I'm gonna go start plugging that into every site I can find, and then if one clicks, it's just a script. They're just running a script.
Yeah.
Then I have access. I got an email that actually was from a guy saying, hey, I know your email and password for your Gmail, which had been changed, actually. I mean, like,
How courteous.
I had already updated it, but he had bought it, and then it was this threatening thing. It was like, I know your secrets, dirty secrets. I'm like, I don't have any dirty secrets, first off.
Email.
And yeah, I mean, it was very canned. Like, you could tell it was just
Yeah.
supposed to be threatening. But in there, he was like, your email address is this, and your password is this. And it was my old password.
Yeah.
But then I immediately started thinking, like, I've changed all my passwords across the internet, so you can't get me. But that is a concern, and like people should be more aware of, honestly, just password management. Using something like 1Password is really effective, or two-factor authentication really does work. So we kind of downplayed that these predictions were not a thing, but I think that we found a few that were true. A few things that are incrementally changing. I think of some things that were already happening. I think that's my big point. Let me ask a wrap-up question.
Go.
What is the one thing that you've seen this year, maybe one of these things or something else, that has been like wow, that happened this year. That was, especially, obviously in our industry, that happened this year. That was exciting. Wasn't expecting, or I didn't expect it to go where it went. Have we had an aha thing recently?
I think more interesting to me than a lot of is watching how these trends play out in different ways than we expect them to. So for instance, the climbing wall with the augmented reality.
Sorry, I think the room is supposed to be used right now, but I don't.
There's nobody here.
I don't see anybody. We're using this technology in ways that we didn't expect. And so watching that happen, whether it's by machine learning or augmented reality, is far... I'm just going to stop talking.
I'm sorry. I'm just like, crap. We gotta get out of the room. Yes, I agree. So some of those experiential, like, augmented reality in the sense of like interacting with real digital physical things, I think is really, I want more of that. Comment down below if there was a prediction that you think we missed, or if there's something that really took over this year that you've been really excited to see. All right, cheers, folks. Monday.
Bye.
This is yesterday's coffee.
That's disgusting.